Hello, it's Joel Blackford with Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship. We are virtual. We've been virtual for a couple of years now. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence. These are disparate times, and we try not to give you disparate information. We're Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship. The World Economic Forum just got together this week. It was just a mess and disgusting in many, many ways. I'm going to compare it to shaggy goat demons and a ram, and I'm going to show you some interesting things. We'll see if you like it. The main thing is that these demonic entities that are the World Economic Forum are starting to show their intentions. So look very carefully at the picture here. You'll see, the economist, and then you'll see the coming food catastrophe, but those are skulls. That's not food. That's not grains. So the forum is meeting to determine our fates. They have their own police wearing odd badges. I'm going to show you that. They resemble the Daniel 8 shaggy goat. So they're showing their intentions more and more and more. The shaggy goat potentially fighting the ram from Daniel 8. The horns don't match Daniel 8, but you know what? The animals in opposition do. And so I believe that Daniel is describing two end-time systems in opposition. I believe that the economist is describing death, and that's the fourth seal. And regular folks will be caught up in the midst of this fight between the systems that are going on. And I believe the World Economic Forum knows of this fight between the systems, and they believe it's good that they are good, and we are bad because we're just regular folks. So once again, you can see the skulls now for sure, and you can see how it fits, and I'm comparing it to the fourth seal. I think they're predicting this is programming, basically, a death, lots of death, like you would find in the fourth seal. Okay, so what are we trying to do here? We're trying to help you understand the Bible better, give you a little bit of Greek and Hebrew, try to interpret prophecy properly and fake news, and also not be frightened over the Antichrist, but be aware that there are many more players out there than just the Antichrist, like this guy. So this is Jacques Attali. He's a French fellow, and from his 1981 book, he's a Bilderberger, which is the same thing as the World Economic Forum. He says the future will be about finding a way to reduce the population. Of course, we will not always be able to execute people. Well, they can't just kill people. They can't just do what the Nazis did to the Jews and the Gypsies in World War II. We get rid of them by making them believe it is their own good. We will find our cause, a pandemic targeting certain people, a real economic crisis or not, a virus affecting the old or the elderly. It doesn't matter. The weak or the fearful will succumb to it. The stupid will believe in it and ask to be treated. We will take care of having well, basically, their treatment will be death. The selection of idiots will therefore be done by itself. They will go to the slaughterhouse alone. Nice guy, yeah? Demonic, maybe? Yep. You can see the horns. And then this is the Georgia Guidestones. I'll show you a better picture later on. But maintain humanity under 500 million. That would be 94, 95% of our population, people, okay? To kill people. That's what they want to do. And so it's just interesting. So Klaus Schwab started this up in 1971. So he is a sick pig of a man. Uh, the new world could emerge, the contours of which would be incumbent on us to reimagine and redraw. Oh, that sounds so innocuous, but it's all about them making money and us not owning anything. You'll own nothing and like it. So he brings in 3,000 people a year. Some of them are investors, business leaders, political leaders, economics people, celebrities, journalists, and they preach the Great Reset, the global redesign, windows of opportunity to intensify programmatic efforts. They're showing more and more and more every single year. So there you go. One of the chieftains behind Klaus Schwab is Yuval Noach, which is comfort, which is weird enough, Harari. Yeah, he's a Jewish fellow. Doesn't believe in God, not a chance. So there are no gods in the universe, no nations, no money, no human rights, no laws, no justice outside the common imagination of human beings. Nice guy, huh? Yeah. So we don't have an answer to the Bible in the Bible when humans are no longer useful to the economy. Yeah, that's his quote. It sounds like nihilism from Nietzsche. God is dead, but given the way of men, there still may be caves for thousands of years in which his shadow will be shown, and we will still have to vanquish his shadow too. Oh, great. So guess what? Nietzsche says God is dead. God says Nietzsche is dead, and Nietzsche is dead. Now, I'm going to compare this to this Azazel guy on the lower right-hand side, which is a goat demon that you're going to see all over the place, and also with the Greece and the Persia pictures there showing the battle of Daniel 8. I'm going to show you that this is the battle of systems, and you're on the good side, but they're going to paint you as the bad people. So once again, 94% of humanity may be dead soon. This is an article by asathief.com. They're Christians. Their math is wrong. They're basing it on what the Georgia Guidestones are talking about. I'm seeing that we have about 8 billion people right now, minus two different. So basically, the fourth seal will you'll minus 25%, taking it down to 6 billion. Then when you're done with that, the sixth. Well, technically the sixth trumpet, but it doesn't really occur right away. By the time Armageddon is done, you'll have another third of the population die, so you'll take it down to 4 billion. That means we'll cut our population in half from 8 billion to 4 billion in the next, I don't know, umpteen years. Okay. So I believe that's the Gog-Magog war, so half of the population will die. And what do we do with all the useless people? Well, Yuval wants to kill us off. And so that is what they stand for. But what is odd is that they're coming out and being more public and more bold about what it is. So I'm arguing about goats, different types of goats. And so basically, Jack Posobiec, he's basically a Turning Point USA contributor and a smart guy, nice guy, interviewer. He went to the conference on Monday. He was sitting in a cafe when he was approached by a man who identified himself as a plainclothes officer and asked for passes and passports. And then he was basically arrested by officers with submachine guns. They pointed their weapons at him. He told Breitbart News he was detained and, along with his crew, and forced to remove all contents from his pockets. And look at the little badge on the side of this guy. Do you see the little ram's horns? So this is an article from Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz, who cited it first, basically. I cited it a few days ago, but I didn't have all of my information. He's basically the Israel 365 news guy, and he's a friend. He's a great guy, Orthodox Jew. And so he's arguing the same thing, that it looks like this is the two goats, the goat and the ram. It looks like Daniel 8. So he noticed it, and that's good. I'm glad that he did. So once again, they have a police force that harasses journalists. Interesting, and they're weaponized too. So there's Posobiec down below there, lower left. The officer again. You can see those two goats ramming each other. This is in Davos, where they have weapons. Obviously, I'm making the comparison to Mars attacks. Absolutely. We come in peace. We come in peace. Blam, blam, blam. And so history began when humans invented gods and will end when humans become gods. That's Yuval Noah Harari. Nice guy. Their idea of world peace is world peace. You know, they want to whirl us up and get rid of us. It's sick. So Klaus Schwab, you will own nothing and be happy. They're showing their tentacles. George Soros is involved in this. There's another quote from Yuval Noah Harari again. Humans are now hackable animals. The whole idea that humans have the soul or spirit and the shama or nefesh, and nobody knows what's happening inside them, and they will have free will. That's over. So we have the sickest of the sick. We have basically Hitler in charge, unelected, and they're bureaucrats. Now, this is on the upper right-hand side. That looks like Klaus Schwab. They're claiming it's his brother, but these are sick, perverted, mentally ill men. And they're old, ugly, gross men. But that's partly due to the fact that they're wealthy Europeans. So all the tentacles, all the evil, they're openly showing their hatred for humanity and the fourth seal. So once again, there's the badge. You could claim that at times it's rams, in this case it's goats. What I'm showing you is the fight between Greece and Medo-Persia from Daniel 8. I'm arguing that they know there's a conflict going on between their system that they want to introduce to us and the system that we live in right now, which is basically capitalism. And they don't like that. They want it to be where we are done away with, where we're Gone. And so I argue that they're introducing the anti-Messiah system, Antichrist you call it, okay, and his system, and then also the false prophet and his system. And that's what's going to be coming out. So when they show the conflict between the two animals, it's the conflict between the two systems and their leaders. Okay. So there's another picture of it, and then you can go back to 2009 and see that. And I'm arguing that looks a lot like Greece versus Medo-Persia from Daniel 8. Is it symbolism or realism? I'm saying that they're openly showing their intentions. Okay, and and then we'll be talking about the shaggy goat versus the ram too. So let's look first at the first reference, which is interesting. And after this, I looked at the night visions, and there before me was a fourth animal. So we believe that's Rome, okay? Dreadful, horrible, extremely strong, with great iron teeth. It devoured, crushed, and stamped its feet on what was left. It was different from all the other animals before it. So basically, we've had 3 animals before that. Now we have this beast, whatever it is. And it has 10 horns, okay? I'm arguing those are 10 DNS switch stations to give you the names, your domain names across the world. Okay, big tech basically. And so then when I was considering the horns, another horn sprang up among them, a little one. I'm arguing that's the Antichrist, before which 3 of the first horns were plucked up by the roots. In this horn were the eyes of human eyes and the mouth speaking arrogantly. So that's Daniel 7, where it describes the 4 beasts, and then it describes this one Antichrist popping out of it. But then when we come back to Daniel 8, we'll see the battle between Greece and Medo-Persia. But I'm arguing that when you see the 2 horns, that's generally considered to be the false prophet. And based on Revelation 13, which is it exercises authority of the first beast, which is Revelation 13:2, it seems like he is the second beast and he is the false prophet. Many argue that the false prophet is the Pope. And I would agree. And so if you read late in chapter 13 of Revelation, you will see the 2 listed. You'll see first the Antichrist listed, then the false prophet. The only way that you know that it's them is you have to read through Revelation 19 and 20 and see those 2 guys listed more specifically. So basically, it is a repeat. It's a constant theme. One thing that I also want to mention to you is both the ram and the shaggy goat are clean animals. They are sacrificial animals. We call them tahor in Hebrew, and they're both tahor animals. Okay, so who am I painting as the false prophet? Well, the same guy that I've always painted, and many have too. He looks like a lamb, he speaks like a dragon. He has 2 horns, and he speaks like a dragon. And so Pope Francis, what a guy, what a so he was on the plane about a year ago here. Yeah, almost exactly a year ago. He said, "Oh, I'm one step away from heresy," as he's talking to the guys. Um, I love Roman Catholics. I believe that they're faithful people. I can't stand the Pope at all. He's just a miserable person. Okay, continuing on. I'm saying that there is a time, one time a year, when the high priest only will take a bull and slaughter it for himself and his family, and then he will take 2 goats. And there's always been this weird stuff about goats. The pagans understand the goats, the goat sacrifices and things like that. Do we? But the goat is for Azazel. He is basically a goat demon that's out in the wilderness. It kind of shows you how he throws it off a cliff there. And this is a weird reference from Leviticus 16, where why would our holy God instruct the priest to do this? Well, part of it is that you need to understand that it fits into the shaggy goat fits into the symbolism of the false prophet and the Antichrist during the end times. So let's just read Daniel 8 so that you can see it again, and then I'll get back into the Azazel sacrifice. So I was beginning to understand then a male goat, and that is I'll explain it later on, came from the west, passing over the whole earth without touching the ground. You can argue that is Alexander. The goat had a prominent horn between his eyes. It approached the ram with the 2 horns. I'm saying that's Pope Francis and his system, which I had seen, and also Medo-Persia, which I had seen in front of the river and charged with savage force. I watched it as it advanced on the ram, filled with rage against it, not against Pope Francis so much, but against the system, because it's going to come down to one system at the end, the Antichrist system. And he breaks the ram, he strikes the ram, breaks the two horns. The ram was powerless to stand against it. He threw the ram to the ground, Medo-Persia and the papal system, stamped it down, and there was no one who could rescue it from the goat's power. The male goat, once again, basically it's an azim, so it's a goat, but it's a furry, a very, very shaggy goat. It became extremely strong, but when it was strong, the big horn was broken, and in place arose what appeared to be the four horns in the directions of the four winds of heaven. That's a bigger reference than just Greece, guys. Okay, so who's the nasty little horn that's also found in Revelation 13? One of them, this is continuing on in Daniel 8. Out of one of them came a little horn, which grew extremely big in the directions of the south and east, and in the direction of glory. It grew so great that it reached the army of heaven. That's the Antichrist, guys, okay? And it hurled some of the army, in league with Satan, obviously, hurled some of the army and the stars to the ground and trampled on them. Yes, it even considered itself as great as the prince of the army. The regular burnt offering was taken away from him, and the place of the sanctuary. So we have the time frame then during the Great Tribulation, because it can't be in 70 AD. Okay, it has to be modern times. Okay, the regular burnt offering was taken away from him, and in place of his sanctuary was thrown down, and through sin, the army was put in its power, along with the regular burnt offering. It flung truth to the ground as it acted and prospered. Okay, so I'm arguing that this is the Antichrist, the little horn. Okay. And then I'm going to show you a little bit from Revelation 13, just so you can see. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. So this is the false prophet. It had two horns, like those of the Lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. It exercises all the authority of the first beast in its presence, so that's the Antichrist in its presence, and makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast. And that's what it's going to come down to, guys. The papal system, or whatever he puts together, is going to be taken apart like a ram, and it's going to come down to only the shaggy goat system, and that will be the final system before Yeshua returns, whose fatal wound had been healed. So at some point in time, this first beast, the Antichrist, has a fatal wound, and it's healed. He performs great miracles, even causing fire. So the false prophet will cause fire to come down from heaven onto the earth as people watch. It deceives the people living on the earth by the miracles. It is allowed to make an image honoring the beast that was struck by the sword but came alive again. It was allowed to breathe into the image of the beast. So literally, this beast is going to have the breath of life, so that anyone who would not worship the image of the beast would be put to death. Also, it forces everyone, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive the mark on his right hand or on his forehead, preventing anyone from buying or selling unless he has the mark, that is, the name of the beast or the number of its name. And you need to consider Sophia, wisdom, where you need wisdom, which is to understand and count the number of the beast. And the number of a person is 666. Generally, Vav is man, 6, and so it's 666. Man. Okay, so what I'm getting at is you're going to have more than just the Antichrist to play around with during the end times. So the Antichrist is part of it. The false prophet is part of it. There's going to be a Gog fellow. There's going to be a king angel of the abyss from Revelation chapter 9, the fifth trumpet. And then you're also going to have, later on in Revelation 9, you're going to have, well, actually, no, in the beginning of Revelation chapter 9, you're going to have tall, horse-like locusts coming up from the abyss. And then, later on in chapter 9, you're going to have 200 million cavalry soldiers. That's the sixth trumpet. And you're going to have Illuminati, like the World Economic Forum. You're going to see wicked human beings wearing the mark 666. You're going to have big tech involved in this. You're going to have Satan involved in this. You're going to have fallen angels involved. You're going to have goats, and you're going to have narcissists. Yes, you're going to have narcissists, because they'll affect your life every day. So just keep that in mind. So what I'm arguing is you need to be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. That's 1 Peter 5:8. My life verse has always been casting your care upon him, for he careth for you. 1 Peter 5:7, and then 1 Peter 5:8. Those have been important to me, because we're in a fight, people. We're in a fight against their system, and they want to devour us. So you have many adversaries, not just the anti-Messiah, not just the Antichrist. The Salvador Ramos, the Uvalde shooter, He's an adversary, okay? What about your family? What about your neighbors? What about your boss, your coworkers, the narcissists, the wokesters, the bullies? They're out there, people. You have adversaries. Now, am I saying that they're all demonic? No, but some of them might be. Okay, you're also going to have some good people on the planet and in between people. So remember that you want to preach Yeshua so that you can reach the in between people that have not really committed one way or the other way. Because there is not, so basically on Yom Kippur, the final Yom Kippur after Yeshua returns, would be the time when you don't get another second chance, so to speak. So anyway, uh, I want you to be aware that the book of Enoch isn't scripture, but it's close to scripture. And Azazel sounds like the book of Enoch, doesn't it? The Lord said to Raphael, bind Azazel hand and foot and cast him into the darkness, the wilderness. And so this is what occurs, presumably, in Leviticus 16 every Yom Kippur. We're dealing with the Azazel character because he's in the text. Okay, he is. So here's Enoch 10:4, as I mentioned, bind him hand and foot and cast him into the darkness and place on him rough and jagged rocks and cover him with darkness and let him abide there forever and cover his face that he may not see light. And the day of great judgment he shall be cast into the fire and heal the earth with which the angels have corrupted, and proclaim the healing of the earth, that they may heal the plague, and that all the children of men may not perish through the secret things that the watchers have disclosed and taught their sons. If you want to pause and read more, but that's 1 Enoch 10:4. Sounds a lot like 1 Peter 3:19, okay? So here's 18. Because the Messiah has suffered once for our sins, the just for the unjust, to bring you to God by being put to death in the flesh, but being made alive in the spirit. He went and preached to the spirits in prison. Sounds like Azazel. And after they were disobedient long ago, when God patiently waited in the days of Noah, as the ark was being constructed, in the ark of few, that is, 8 souls were delivered through water. So it's basically a baptism, a mikvah, and so just keep that in mind that these verses match up very, very closely. I'm saying that they're openly showing this Azazel stuff right now. So once again, I wanted to mention to you that the Calvary cross is a lot like Rosh Hashanah, not Rosh Hashanah, I'm sorry, Yom Kippur every year. That basically Aaron shall slaughter the bullock of the sin offering for himself, and then he shall make atonement for himself and his house, and he shall kill the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself. That's like Yeshua, killed for God, basically, for the sins of the world. And then, but you've got the one goat that's turned toward Azazel and the one goat that turns toward Yeshua. And I'm making the comparison to Calvary, where you've got two different thieves. One's a good thief and turns towards Yeshua, and the other one, you know where he goes, and he chooses it. So just keep that in mind. That is what's going on. Now, continuing on with the Azazel theme and the goat theme and the ram theme and things like that, you've got this weird section in Hebrews, so we're reading from right to left. Nor regard for any above all he shall exalt himself, but a God of fortresses in their place he shall honor. So this is the Antichrist. This is Daniel 11. 37, 38, 39, in that range. That Ma'ozim that you see right there of fortresses where the red arrow is, that could be from shaggy goat demons. Okay? It could mean that. Uzim. So Seir would be goats, but Uzim would be strong. Uz, Az, all of those things, like the Wizard of Oz, are basically strong, but it's plural. And so they're assuming that it's fortresses. I'm saying that there's a connection between the Antichrist and serving a god of shaggy goat demons, from the shaggy goat demons. Okay, and continuing on, and the God not which he did not know, his fathers never honored with gold or silver and with stones and precious, because they really didn't honor Azazel in that way. And pleasant things he shall act against fortresses. That's a different word there, but there's Ma'ozim again. The goat demons with a god which is foreign, the car, yep, which he shall acknowledge. So just keep it in mind. There's this weird reference there. Okay, it could be goat demons. And then Leviticus 16, which is the section on Yom Kippur, you'll see there's Seir, the kids of the goats, Uzim. But the problem is Seir is more like a region of Moab, of actually Edom, we could call it, and also goats. And Uzim is probably more like shaggy goats. Okay, so and as I mentioned, it's for the offerings and things like that. So keep in mind, there's this weird connection between the shaggy goats, and I'm arguing that the Antichrist will have a shaggy goat spirit. That will be his god. That will be his system. That's satanic. Okay, and it dates right on back to the beginning of time. The symbolism is out there. You'll see it more and more and more as we go forward here. The upper middle there seems to be where the World Economic Forum is going to go. That seems to be their mark of the beast, but that could evolve a little bit. Google is doing the same thing. Vodafone is doing it. Other people, CERN is doing it. They're all doing their 666. Okay, so keep it in mind. So we're in the birth pangs. We're probably coming into the fourth seal. We're starting to see more deaths. We're not in the Great Tribulation, people. We're just bouncing along in the birth pangs. We're not in the tribulation or the Great Tribulation. And he'll make a firm covenant. He'll increase the covenant, Gavor, for 1 week with many. But that's Ravim, and so that would be many powerful ones. And so that hasn't happened yet. Okay, so we're not in the Great Tribulation. We are just bouncing along through the birth pangs, and they're getting bigger and more powerful. We're trying to keep our garments clean. You want to wear white garments. It's a wedding. You want to be blessed by honoring God because it's going to get bad. So be blessed. Take care. Remember that your enemies are many and that you need to come close to God. Bye-bye.